completely surreal for me being 18 years old. I'm there and again, that poorly tailored suit, and I'm taking photos with Trump. If you guys have watched our channel or if you watched numerous videos on VINwiki, you know that I started my career by sort of moving out and becoming a nightclub promoter and really wanting nothing to do with the car business. I really had this passion to be an entrepreneur and do my own thing and sort of rough it in the world. And at 18 years old, I moved out and I was watching the world change and watching the real estate market explode in 2004 and 2005 and all these things happen. And I had this fascination for somehow being involved in the financial world or the real estate world. I thought it could really, change my life and get me to the next level. So I started reaching out to different nightclubs, different real estate companies with the goal of trying to sort of figure out my way in either the marketing world or something like that. And I ended up reaching out to Barclays International Real Estate. Barclays at the time was probably the most prestigious Palm Beach real estate company. They had sold homes to everyone from Michael Jackson to Donald Trump to all these really important figures that had bought and sold homes in the Palm Beach community. And Palm Beach is today, and even years ago, considered probably one of the most exclusive addresses in the world. Homes range from anywhere from $40 million to $100 million. So I really felt like targeting Barclays and targeting sort of the Palm Beach community, I could explode my career. And upon meeting, Barclays, I actually, at the time, I didn't have a lot of money, so I was in a poorly tailored suit. It was like an off-the-rack suit. I looked like I was 15 years old and probably looked a mess, but I walked into their office, and I immediately met the founder, Mr. Robert Weiner, and I told him, I said, listen, I'm trying to promote nightclubs. I'm trying to get into the marketing world, and I'd love to see how I could help you promote your $1 million homes. And he basically told me, hey, kid, let's sit on this next meeting. So I started talking about how they were looking for a way to promote these, 20, 30, $40 million homes on Palm Beach Island. And I realized that because I grew up around my dad's shop and because I had years of sort of meeting my dad's clients and understanding supercars and all these different cars, that potentially I could pitch Mr. Weiner on the idea of doing a supercar show that would attract supercar owners, and it would be a great way to market a $20 million home. I sort of raised my hand in the back of the room and I said, hey, I have this idea of, this car event, and you can invite car owners, and if someone has a $500,000 car, they're pre-qualified maybe for a $5 million home or a $50 million home. They loved the idea, and sort of everybody in the room started talking about it. And immediately I had remembered that a few of my father's clients, I remembered their names, and I remembered where they lived in Manalapan. I said, oh, Mr. Muller and, Mr. Musa and all these guys, they had brought their Ferrari F50 and, all these different cars to my dad. And right away he goes, I know that house. I sold it. I know this guy. So I got him very, very excited. And that day I was given the task to go out and basically start producing this event. And he told me he would give me a home. It was, at the time, it was a $23 million home. He'd give me this home for the weekend to produce this event if I could raise $5,000. Now, at the time, I had just started my career, and $5,000 seemed like $100 million. I left his office. I immediately went back to my house. I started creating this pitch deck that was almost completely full of shit, and basically created this sponsorship package and started going out to all of the local car dealers and brands and all these different things to try to raise the money. So I used a picture of this $23 million home on the cover, and I had pictures of supercars inside, and I called it the Palm Beach Supercar Show. And immediately, my first day out, I had a jet company that was interested, and I actually got my first check from Bremen Motor Cars. Now, the funny part about it was that when I went to Bremen Motor Cars, who was the Rolls-Royce dealer and Porsche dealer at the time, they actually immediately called Robert Weiner because he was actually a good client of theirs. So it probably helped to have his endorsement to get that sponsorship, but I ended up raising the $5,000 and I started putting this event on. Now, I had never produced any event like this. I really was just a young guy. I was 18 years old or 17 years old at the time. I'd lied about my age if anyone had asked me, but I was always on Ferrari chat. So I was on all these forums, and with the knowledge from my dad and the knowledge of growing up around this community, I was able to interact with other Ferrari owners and Lamborghini owners on all the forums. So immediately I started promoting this event, the Palm Beach Supercar Show, with an invite that I had created myself, that it was going to be this lavish event, supercars from all over, champagne toast, blah, 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 blah. And immediately I got this huge response. Guys from all over Florida, guys from the East Coast. We had everything from guy signed up with a yellow Enzo, another guy signed up with a Carrera GT. Now we have cars and coffees, and we have all these supercar shows around the country. But at this time, these events didn't exist. So to start having people, want to come to this event was super important for me. And I would say within weeks, we had 20, 30 cars signed up for this event. We were very excited. And I was lucky enough to sort of be under the wing of Robert now. So I immediately started to go to his office every day, and we started planning this event. One day, Robert gets a call. Basically, I'm invited into his office, and Mr. Donald Trump, who is one of Robert's clients, is basically saying that he wants to produce some sort of an event for the Abe Gossman estate. Now, Trump had purchased the Abe Gossman estate. Abe Gossman was a massive insurance entrepreneur. I don't know the exact price that Trump had purchased the house for at the time, but he was asking a lot more. He was going to ask over $100 million for this house, and it was this incredible, massive home. So we all know that Trump also owns one of the biggest estates in Palm Beach, which is Mar-a-Lago, his home that was actually, I think, recently raided by the FBI. But that was actually also purchased from Robert Weiner of Barclays Real Estate years before. And he purchased it for like almost nothing at the time. It was like 3 or 4 million compared to what it could be worth today, almost like 400 million if you ask any Palm Beach real estate experts. So this was an additional house that he had purchased, and the Gossman estate was really just purely a real estate deal for him, where Mar-a-Lago is actually his private home. Now, Robert told Trump about this event we were doing, and we basically were invited by Trump, and Trump said he wanted to get involved to bring all of the supercar owners in a drive from the first house, the $23 million house, to the $100 million house in Palm Beach Island. So this sort of changed the entire dynamic. At the time, Trump was a household name. Forget the fact that he became, president, but he was a household name and known, and I would say, sort of this symbol of luxury and this symbol of success. So as a young guy, I was very, very excited. I was super shocked that this was going to be happening for my first event ever. Basically, the big day came, and man, it was insane. And then there's some really, I recently found some photos from that period, but there was everything from a CLK DTM. There was, Lamborghini Murcielagos, Porsche Carrera GTs. I think there was 2 Carrera GTs, 2 Enzos. So all these crazy supercars showed up. We had one of the first SLRs in the country. It was a black coupe. So we had all these iconic supercars at this incredible home. All of the collectors were shocked because they had never been to anything like this. And then we, sort of surprised everyone and said, okay, we're now all going to take a drive and we're going to go to Donald Trump's home and he's going to give us a private tour. And I think everybody was just like shocked. So we all leave and we're all just driving up. It was probably like 5-10 miles away. And we arrived to the Gossman estate, which now is actually bulldozed. But it was this incredible palatial estate. It was on like 2 or 3 lots on the ocean. And all the cars are pulling into the driveway. And it's just the most incredible scene to have all of these cars in front of this $100 million home. And there he is, Mr. Trump, wearing a baseball cap, I think for his golf club at the time. He's there and he's, welcoming everyone to the home and giving everyone a private tour. So I know you guys know there's some incredible photos of Trump's famous Diablos. And we have a great story about his Diablos as well. But Trump that day had his own personal car there, which was a Ferrari Spider. I don't remember if it was a 360 or 430, but he knew at the time in 05, either car was a pretty hot commodity to have. They were probably bringing over a sticker at that point, and he had probably one of the first ones. But it was red tan. I remember it being parked up front. Now, Obviously, we'd invited news media and things like that. I was, I didn't have too much PR or marketing knowledge at the time, but I definitely knew I needed to call Palm Beach Daily News, the Palm Beach Post, and all the local sort of Palm Beach media. So they were all there and they were taking pictures, and completely surreal for me being 18 years old. I'm there and again, that poorly tailored suit, and I'm taking photos with Trump. Now, the next day, the photos were everywhere. Front page of 2 newspapers. Trump unveils his $100 million home with supercars, and there it is, me with Donald Trump with this photo. So regardless of what you think about Donald Trump or your opinion about his political views, Donald Trump basically helped start my career. I used that photo, and I went out and milked that photo for what it was worth to basically start the Palm Beach Supercar Show, and took that name and brand and evolved that. And we'll have a whole nother story at a later point basically about what the Palm Beach Supercar Weekend and the Palm Beach Supercar Show became. But it's an incredible sort of moment. It's also an important moment for supercar history as well, because it was a unique time in the world, and it was one of the first supercar shows like its kind. But regardless what you think about Trump, I have to thank my career to him.
Buying a used car, especially sight unseen, can be a very scary process, and you should never do that without getting the car inspected first. And the best and easiest way to have that done is using the Lemon Squad. They are an amazing resource that can almost immediately inspect a car for you anywhere in the country. They have no hidden fees, they're the largest company in the industry, and they have the fastest response times in the industry. So check them out now at the link in the description below. You can use the code VINwiki for a 10% discount. It is the best way not only to find out if you're being scammed, find out if the car is a piece of garbage, and to make sure that you're buying exactly the car that you're looking for. So next time you buy a car, make sure to use the Lemon Squad.